that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Media have already said that they are going to be horrible. The books have them, as we'll see in a moment, at a win total of 5.5. Sean Payton, though, Scotty, he does not listen to preseason prognosticators.
That's your future, and it's on you. Like, they selected him. They wanted him. That's what they got. And now he has to build that from scratch.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
The Yankees are desperate. I mean, they could fire hitting coaches and everything else, but it's not working. So I don't know if Cashman really would do that. They seem to be so, tight-knit, but something's got to happen.
A big award or a big prize in the trade deadline sweepstakes would be Vladimir Guerrero Jr., right? Vladdy, put him in the middle of the lineup.
In-game live, prime time, only on Sports.
Welcome to hour number 2, live right here on this Friday on the early line on SportsGrid and all across that Spiz Grizz network. This second hour begins on a Friday as a football Friday. It's Ben, it's Donnie, and it's the mastermind of the pigskin, the man in the middle, Joe Lisi, here with us for the next half hour to look at training camp getting started in the National Football League in the third and final day in Indianapolis of Big Ten Media Days yesterday afternoon. Lisi guy, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you for carving out some time on this Friday morning with us.
Oh, always a pleasure. I feel like I'm sitting on the set of College Football Today with Donnie and yourself. So let's break down some Big Ten Media Days. Nothing better.
I mean, listen, there was some sort of programming going around yesterday that might have hinted at DRS's involvement in CFT this year. Lisi guy, let's dive right in to a topic I know you hold near and dear. Yesterday, you and I, on Football Full Circle on the radio, starting at 12 p.m. Eastern time, we get the lovely pleasure of having the money line be our lead in program. We were breaking down some reports out of Latrobe, Pennsylvania, opening practice day for the Steelers at training camp, that Russell Wilson was missing the opening practice for Pittsburgh and held out due to a calf issue. He apparently woke up on a Thursday morning and was struggling with that calf. He's considered day-to-day, and it allowed Justin Fields to take the first team reps. Is there anything of overall concern, Lisi guy, in your estimation that Russ wasn't out there in practice number 1?
Well, I said it, and Donnie might disagree, but this is the perfect setting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Mike Tomlin will finally see the real Russell Wilson, and if you're Pittsburgh right now, your best shot at a 10-win season is to have Justin Fields under center week number 1.
Here's what I love about this, Joe, to be honest, because it's not about who's going to start week 1. What did we all say in the offseason and what the football coaches typically preach over time? I love competition. Was it so wrong to say, yes, I have Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. The best man's going to win that job in camp, and we could have all bought in. But the fact that Russell Wilson was anointed the starter, it's almost like the gambling gods are saying, no. This is going to be an even race, because last time I heard, like, oh, don't worry about it. Just a little bit of a calf, just a little bit of a hamstring injury. That usually means multiple days. And if Justin Fields shines, the players, Joe, will see that as well. Talk to me about, let's just say if Russell Wilson's out a week and Fields looks good. Does that mean Mike Tomlin goes, oh, no. You don't lose your starting job to injury, even though we're not even in the regular season? How does this play out throughout the summer if Fields actually looks good now?
Well, I think it's a lingering issue, Donnie, and we saw it play out with Joe Burrow in Cincinnati last year, right? Joe Burrow fought through the calf injury, wasn't himself in terms of the first couple of games of the regular season. And again, that could be a lingering issue, especially when you had an anemic offense in the Pittsburgh Steelers, an erratic passing attack. And I said it before, I really believe Justin Fields gives Pittsburgh the best opportunity not to just compete for an AFC North title or a wild card, but potentially an AFC championship. He's younger. He's a locker room guy. The RPO game now becomes another added dimension to that offense. And if he's now, hitting on all cylinders in terms of the offseason and preseason camp, has that continuity with the wide receivers, why would you want to disrupt that? And again, if Russell Wilson does not handle this like, let's just say, a rookie, where he wants to win and he wants to start week number one, and he handles it the way he did with Denver and Seattle, where he thinks he's above everybody, then I really believe Justin Fields will win over the locker room and, more importantly, Mike Tomlin guys.
Frankly, minimal investment in either of the two quarterbacks in that QB room in the Steel City. The vet minimum for Russell Wilson, he's still getting paid by the Broncos, so he doesn't really care. And only a 7th-round draft pick given up for Justin Fields, so they'll have a true quarterback competition. But as Dr. Donnie will tell you, if it's a calf injury, it's not as cut and dry or day-to-day as it might seem. Lisi, guy, you were actually the person yesterday afternoon to make me aware of a market on the FanDuel Sportsbook in the New Jersey area that you can actually bet on quarterback competition. Not just our overall thoughts, but laid down a wager. And you said earlier this offseason, you bet on Justin Fields to be the week one starting QB for the Pittsburgh Steelers at plus 450. Whether it's the injury to Russ or just overall optimism in Fields, that number has moved a little bit at 4-1. Is Joe Lisi a market mover?
Oh, always. I'm always a market mover. You know that. College and NFL. I took Pittsburgh at 36-1 when they signed Justin Fields to win the championship, right? He got down to 25-1. But I think it's important to recognize it's not just Justin Fields moving from plus 475 down to 4-1 now. It was Russell Wilson at minus 1,000, now minus 620. And again, how does this situation play out? It's not just a calf. I actually believe it's more of a locker room situation with Russell Wilson. His teammates hated him in Seattle. They wound up hating him in Denver. I think they're going to hate him in Pittsburgh when this situation plays out. And that's where Mike Tomlin will have the final say. And I think he does name Justin Fields the week one starter.
Joe, what's this offense going to look at? Because we start to take a look at Pittsburgh this season. I'd be much higher on them if they didn't play in such a tough division this year. For him to get to 500 or better, he's really going to have to put in possibly his best work. But what's this up? Because Arthur Smith comes over from Atlanta. We know it was a terrible offensive strategy for the past couple of years. What changes? Are we still going to say, no, we're a ground game, and Mike Tomlin says, don't interrupt it. We're going to play good defense, and we'll work on offense. Are we getting more of a downfield passing threat? What can I anticipate from the Pittsburgh Steelers this year on offense?
Well, I think they're going to run the football a little bit more, right? We saw that last year in regards to Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson for Atlanta, splitting carries with both of those backs. You're going to see it with Jalen Warren and Najee Harris as it relates to the rushing attack. In terms of the passing game, if it's Russell Wilson, I think it'll be more short to intermediate passes. If it is Justin Fields, I think they open it up big time. I really believe Justin Fields has the stronger arm, and they do attack defenses vertically. That's why I think it's imperative that he starts sooner rather than later, guys.
Week number 1, it's a reunion for Arthur Smith back in Atlanta against the former team that he was the head coach of, now the OC for the Steelers. The Falcons and Kirk Cousins, a 2.5-point home favorite against Pittsburgh to start the season. Total at 42.5. We expect Atlanta to light it up offensively. If Pittsburgh can hold up their end of the bargain, that might be a light number. Lisi, guy, we know what the standard is for this Steelers organization under Mike Tomlin. 17 seasons, never less than 8 wins, never a losing record under Tomlin. Of course, you think Justin Fields is the guy. If he is at the quarterback spot, will that trend continue in Pittsburgh of not being below 500?
Yeah, I think it does. I think a 9 or a 10-win season is not out of the realm of possibility. If it's Russell Wilson, I think they go down in flames. 6 or 7 wins at best, I think, for that team. Again, I don't think Russ is a winner anymore. You saw it in Denver last year. So if you're betting the 8.5, you better hope that Justin Fields is under center.
Yeah, and also, if we're trying to line up the Pittsburgh Steelers, like, do we have major changes coming to this franchise, Joe? Because they made a couple changes. The defense still should be good. The offense, I think, is going to be average. But what is the future, though? Like, is Justin Fields, could he be the future guy? Could Russell Wilson be the future guy? Or at the end of the season, we're looking for a completely new quarterback in Pittsburgh.
I think if Justin Fields plays the regular season, Donnie, at least 14 games, he has the ability to be the quarterback for the next 5 or 6 seasons. If he doesn't start at all, then I think they're looking for a new quarterback in the draft this coming season, and it might be a major rebuild. This defense a couple of years ago was not Pittsburgh-esque, and they got back to basics last year, so we'll see how it plays out, guys.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have been a consistently successful team, but not one that has won at the highest level. I do not believe Pittsburgh has been to the AFC Championship game since the 2016 campaign. Plenty more with the mastermind. That's Joe Lisi. Up next, around the National Football League, live right here on a Football Friday on the Early Line.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Media have already said that they are going to be horrible. The books have them, as we'll see in a moment, at a win total of 5.5. Sean Payton, though, Scotty, he does not listen to preseason prognosticators.
That's your future, and it's on you. Like, they selected him. They wanted him. That's what they got. And now he has to build that from scratch.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
A Football Friday continues live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. One of the great things about training camp is not only the endless storylines and narratives that come from each and every day at practice, but also who is not at practice or not even at training camp. Lisi, let's start with two frontrunners in the NFC. Donnie and I talked about the Dallas Cowboys. We'll get to them in just a moment. But the San Francisco 49ers, at a 3-1 price, are the favorites short relative to the field to win an NFC title once again. They have played in the NFC Championship game 4 of the previous 5 seasons. They have played in a Super Bowl in 2 of the last 5 years as well. And yet it's been an interesting offseason for the 49ers that hasn't been chock full of optimism. They paid Christian McCaffrey, sure, but Trent Williams, their all-pro left tackle, now holding out of camp. Brendan Ayuk, unhappy with his contract situation, did report to training camp, but still hopes for that big money extension. Joe, what is your assessment of where San Fran lines up entering 2024?
Yeah, well, we talked about it on the radio, right? On paper, they're deserving to be the top team and the front runner to win an NFC championship, and they have all the pieces to make another run. But when you see Trent Williams start to hold out, I feel like Trent Williams has done this throughout his career, especially in his days in Washington a couple of seasons ago. You still want to have your best offensive lineman in regards to the preseason camp. You want to have that continuity in the locker room as well. And if Brandon Ayuk does not get on the practice field soon, what does that mean in terms of Brock Purdy's development? It's not like we're talking about a Super Bowl winning quarterback, a quarterback that's a veteran that could do it time and time again. He stepped up throughout his career up until this point, but he's still a young quarterback, and you want to have his best weapons on the field. It comes down to a locker room perspective. We saw this situation play out, guys, with Stephon Diggs in Buffalo. He was in camp early. He had some issues with Josh Allen, was not really completely bought in. And even though the Buffalo Bills made the playoffs, they bowed out early. So you never want to see that, especially with an NFC contender.
Yeah, and you take a look at San Francisco, too. They're in that window right now all in because next year, if you're going to say, all right, let me get next, you know what's going to take place? Brock Purdy, if he has a good year, let's just say another Pro Bowl year, that's $55+ million. That goes up from like $1 million against the salary cap this year. So the players understand, I better get mine because that quarterback next year is going to cost a lot of money. Now, let me move over quickly here to CeeDee Lamb and the Dallas Cowboys. Word's coming out now, he wants similar to what Justin Jefferson has gotten. And some people might say, like, well, I don't know if I'd pay him that much. But what's the alternative for the Dallas Cowboys? Let's just say CeeDee Lamb and his agent really dig their claws in and go, I'm not coming until I get paid, which means weeks 5, 6, 7 into the season. Is Dallas willing to throw away their entire season? Because they will if CeeDee Lamb doesn't show up. How does this end? Does he get paid a ton of money? Because I can't picture Dallas going into the season without CeeDee Lamb. Just throw it all away then, Joe.
No, I agree with you, Donnie. They have to pay him right now. I mean, he's your best, most consistent offensive weapon. And I know Dak needs to get paid as well. But this is a similar situation in which we talked about, Ben, with Green Bay and Jordan Love. You know, he is going to be a player that's going to be there for the next 5 or 6 seasons. You want CeeDee Lamb in that lineup. You want him happy, especially if Dallas is going to make a championship run. This team hasn't shown it up until this point. You want him signed, you want him in camp, and you want to get that train rolling. Otherwise, guys, it's going to be a mess. It's going to be an absolute mess this season, and I don't think that's what Jerry Jones wants. You sign CeeDee Lamb just the way they signed Justin Jefferson.
More than 100 receptions in each of the past 2 years, more than 1,300 receiving yards each of the past 2 seasons. Last year led the NFL with 135 grabs, 1,749 receiving yards, second most in the National Football League, only 50 yards behind Miami's Tyreek Hill. Donnie, you and I discussed earlier, we have no idea what Dallas is doing, leveraging the future of their franchise in this offseason. Makes zero sense to us. And I think it is interesting then to look at the NFC Championship odds once again. When these odds came out earlier in the offseason, San Francisco was half the field and then some in front of both the Lions and the Cowboys. A 6-1 number on Detroit, a 6-1 number on Dallas. You will see the boys have moved back by $2 at 8-1, tied for the 4th best price alongside Green Bay. Maybe it's been some market maneuvering. Of course, we've had a long offseason. Maybe it's just the total amount of handle and bets that have come in. But Philadelphia has moved in front of Dallas, tied for the second best price alongside Detroit at plus 550. San Francisco has moved back ever so slightly at 3-1. Joe, as you look at the NFC title odds right here, right now, as training camp has begun all around the National Football League, where do you think the best bet is?
Well, I keep banging this drum, but I think it's with Jordan Love in Green Bay at 8-1, and I'm still riding Matt Stafford and the LA Rams at 14-1. I still buy into the Eagles in terms of the top three teams. Out of all of those, I would bet Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia to rebound in a bigger way. Not sold on the Dallas Cowboys. What I find absolutely amazing, guys, is the type of love that Kirk Cousins and the Falcons are getting. Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears at 25-1. And you have a team in terms of Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that all they do is win the division, win playoff games, and they're 35-1. I understand that, Canales is now coaching over at Carolina, and it's still Tampa Bay, but this is a team that challenged Detroit last year in regards to the playoff game, almost pulled that game out, and they're 35-1 odds in regards to the board. It's complete disrespect for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now.
Lisi guy, will Donnie and Kevin, the big Birds backers, of course, that you host Pro Football Today with, actually let you lay down a wager on the Eagles at plus 550 to win the NFC?
Only alt lines.
No, probably not. I'm the reason why they fell off a cliff, not because their defense didn't show up in the locker room. I'm the reason they started 10-1, had the best defensive front seven in all of the NFL, and then couldn't stop a high school team.
That sounds pretty spot on. I know Donnie agrees with that assessment. I'm sure if Kev was here, he would say the same. It's part of the fun we have during football season on College Football Today with Donnie Rightside or Pro Football Today with Donnie Rightside. You never know what that man's schedule is going to look like. We'll talk some college football. Big Ten Media Days up next.
When it comes to betting on sports, injuries matter, and Sports Injury Central has you covered all year long with expert injury analysis and injury-based picks for the NFL, NBA, and MLB. Our former pro sports doctors have unmatched experience to analyze every injury so you know the impact of the player, team, and their upcoming matchup. Whether it's articles, podcasts, player insights, or our patented injury scores, Sports Injury Central will help you keep up with your fantasy team and make more informed wagers. So make sure you follow Sports Injury Central and gain an edge at SixScore.com.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York team has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern.
Live right here on this Football Friday on the early line on SportsGrid. It's Ben, it's Lisi, it's Donnie. Live right here on this Friday as we turn our attention away from the NFL back to college football. Third and final day in Indianapolis at Big Ten Media Days. Fourth and final day in Charlotte at ACC Media Days. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. All four now of the power conferences have completed talking season and media days to get ready for a new 2024 college football campaign. One of the West Coast newcomers to the Big Ten. That's Oregon. Dan Lanning entering year 3 in Eugene. And Oregon made a literal splash ahead of the first day in Indy of Big Ten Media Days, putting the big inflatable duck into the White River in downtown Indy. Dan Lanning had this to say yesterday, Joe, quote, "We're mighty different. I hope we get to take that big floating duck to all our away games. We're innovative," end quote. Wasn't the only thing Dan Lanning had to say yesterday, but I'm glad that we are showing you the B-roll footage of the big inflatable duck into the White River in Indianapolis. Joe, a big presence now in the Big Ten, will be matched with big expectation and performances out of the Ducks in 2024.
Yeah, it will, and I love Dan Lanning. I love the aggressiveness. I love the intensity of trying to just come into the Big Ten and say, hey, we're here. And I think they will be here. Second best price in regards to the conference to challenge Ohio State. They're built from an offensive line and defensive line perspective, and they get the transfer from Oklahoma, Dylan Gabriel, to take over for Bo Nix. So I think they're going to be right there. Both of those teams show down in Eugene in regards to that matchup, October 12th. I think Oregon wins the conference. I think right now, entering the 2024 campaign, they are the best team in regards to the Big Ten. I think they step up, and I think they win it this year.
Yeah, take a look, and that's a big game. Saturday the 12th, October 12th, that is, they take on Ohio State. They also have to travel to Michigan a little bit later in the season, November. Then finally, even later in November, Saturday the 16th, heading towards Wisconsin. Let me ask you this question because, you know, the Pac-12 used to playing on the West Coast. Now you have more East Coast, West Coast type of travel here. How do you think that affects Oregon at this point? Or does it just say, Joe, well, Donnie, they have Ohio State at home. That's the game that you won at home this year, and if they win it, they should win it.
Well, I think that's obviously the big one on the schedule, Donnie. But you're right about the actual logistics of going to Big Ten, conference, Big Ten schedules and stadiums throughout the year. Is that how is the team going to handle it? It's a new landscape, and we saw this with the Big 12 in terms of that transition. 4 teams came into the conference last year. 3 of them struggled. UCF was the only team to make it to a bowl. So again, I think that's always a possibility. But the way Dan Lanning has built this team, he was a national champion with the Georgia Bulldogs as defensive coordinator and has his teams prepared. Only 2 losses last year came at the hands of Washington that made it to the national championship game. I think they're going to be just fine. And let's not forget, Tyler Van Dyke is the potential quarterback in Wisconsin. He couldn't throw touchdowns in Miami. He's going to throw them in Madison.
I think he will.
Ooh, I like that little shot at the Canes on your way out. By the way, travel miles for Big Ten teams next year, 7 will travel more than 8,000 miles in the next football season. It should not surprise you to know those 7 programs kind of on the outskirts of the Big Ten, the West Coast schools, the East Coast schools, UCLA the most, 22,048. Oregon, 4th most, 12,520 travel miles in this upcoming college football campaign. We do it for the TV revenue. Dan Lanning also saying this yesterday. Joe, you mentioned how he was the defensive coordinator in Athens under Kirby Smart. Last week at SEC Media Days in Dallas, Kirby kind of taking a shot at his former DC and Oregon because of their NIL money. And Dan Lanning responded with this on the Pat McAfee Show, formerly of the SportsGrid Network, yesterday. Quote, "I think it's impressive that guys like Kirby Smart have been signing the #1 class in the nation without any NIL money." End quote. Said tongue in cheek. Lacey guy, Dan Lanning's got you fired up for a Big Ten football season.
Oh, you got to love that, though, right? Both coaches know each other very well, and we know that the money flows through Athens just the way it flew through Tuscaloosa with Nick Saban even before NIL in regards to getting the top talent. So that's what it's all about, the paper bag, right? a la Jeremy Pruitt. That's how they did it back in the day.
That's how they did it back in the day, and now I guess it's all above board and legal. Joe Lisi, the mastermind of the pigskin, here on this Football Friday. Lisi guy, we love the show. Thanks for being here on the early line. More on TEL Olympic coverage comes your way next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Media have already said that they are going to be horrible. The books have them, as we'll see in a moment, at a win total of 5.5. Sean Payton, though, Scotty, he does not listen to preseason prognosticators.
That's your future, and it's on you. Like, they selected him. They wanted him. That's what they got. And now he has to build that from scratch.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they showed they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
A Football Friday, looking at training camp in the National Football League, media days in college football, stays a Football Friday, but with Olympic soccer conversation, live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. From Sporting News, Mike DeCourcy joins us here on this Friday to look back at the Olympic opener for the U.S. women's national team and what is ahead for the men's national side at the Olympic Games in Paris after a 3-0 defeat to France in the opener on Wednesday afternoon. Mike, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on this Friday morning ahead of the opening ceremonies this afternoon in Paris.
Oh, happy to do it.
Mike, we've had some action before the actual opening ceremonies at the Paris Olympic Games because of the soccer tournaments getting started. Yesterday, the United States women's national team with an easy opener over Zambia. As was expected, they were a minus 3,500 money line favorite. The United States wins 3-0. They scored early and often led by a wonder goal from Trinity Rodman. But, Mike, just because they win 3-0 and they were the heavy favorites to do exactly that in a lopsided opening match, what did you make of the Americans' opener in Paris?
There were some good elements of the game. Some really incisive passing that was nice to see that had been missing from this team for a while. Rose Lavelle coming back and playing 45 minutes was a good sign after she missed the final friendly in advance of the Olympics with an injury, and that was an important component of how it went. She only played 45 minutes because she only had to play 45 minutes. I did think they missed some opportunities to make it a much more decisive victory. And in Olympic soccer, just winning, and in any major tournament, just winning isn't always enough because you have an other power in Germany that you play in your next game on Sunday. And if you beat Germany, then it doesn't matter that you blew 4 or 5 chances against Zambia to make it worse. But if you draw, then it could make a huge difference. And that's why I thought that yesterday's performance against a team that only had 10 players for the final 50 or 60 minutes of the game, only getting 3 goals was a major miss.
Mike, if we take a look and maybe reset the market here after a game, or should I say a day of games here from the women's side, Spain's a plus 175 favorite. The U.S. is a 2-1 favorite. Did anybody give you a positive outlook yesterday? So, you know what? Maybe I didn't expect this, or I liked what I saw yesterday out of these group pairings.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what to make of Australia with Sam Kerr injured, but the fact that Germany was able to beat them as decisively as they did, 3-0 there. And Australia is a top 10 opponent. The U.S. beating Zambia 3-0. Zambia is rated 64th in the world. Australia has been a factor in a lot of major tournaments. And again, they are missing their absolute best player, one of the best in the world, with Kerr being injured. But to take them apart as they did is a really positive sign for them. And I think they have to have a lot of confidence going into Sunday's game in Marseille against the Americans.
Mike, we had Kyle Bond from Sporting News on the show the past 2 days to preview both of the Olympic soccer tournaments, and he has shared the frank reality of women's international soccer. The United States used to be leaps and bounds in front of many nations. The world has caught up. We were bounced from the recent World Cup in the knockout round. We only finished with a bronze medal at the Tokyo Games a few summers ago. Spain now leapfrogs the United States as the favorite to win the gold medal in the women's soccer tournament at the Olympic Games, plus 175. The U.S. was a couple of cents in front of the Spanish side entering yesterday's opening matches. Now let's go to the men's youth tournament that we know at the Olympic Games. They got off to a wild start with Morocco and Argentina on Wednesday afternoon. And for the Americans, they opened against the host nation in the gold medal favorites in France. And France won 3-0. So a game for the United States tomorrow that is potentially a must-win against New Zealand. Right now, the United States, Mike, a minus 170 money line favorite. Do you agree with that sentiment? Is this a must-win for the Americans to advance in Olympic soccer?
Well, I think they have to look at it as a must-win because there are probably some mathematical ways they could do it without it. But if you're going to advance and matter, you have to be able to go out and beat New Zealand. I did not like a lot of what I saw on even though they hung with France, didn't go down into Lacazette's terrific goal in the second half. I thought that they missed something, and I still go back until they do something in the absence of Diego Luna. Create something in the absence, even if they don't win, if they create something. I mean, we saw Dominic Maguire out there basically stranded because nobody could connect to him. Dominic Maguire, the striker for the U.S., had almost no service at all. Luna's the best creator in the young American soccer division, and he may be the best creator America has at this point, even considering the senior side. And they left him at home from this Olympic team, even after he'd been terrific in the qualification tournament, the regional U20 tournament that got the Americans to the Olympics for the first time since 2008. Marko Mitrovic decided to leave him home for whatever reason, has never fully explained it. And that they did hit a post on an opportunity off a free kick, and they did have one shot from outside the box go off the crossbar. But that's not the same as connecting with your striker and giving him legitimate opportunities. So until I see something in that range, something that shows that they can connect the midfield to the forward line, I'm going to be skeptical about how far this U.S. team goes.
As we talk about expectations here, Mike, also, because in the tournament itself, France is the favorite at a plus 175. Team USA did go up against France and lost 3-0. What are reasonable expectations looking like moving forward for Team USA in this tournament? Is it to win a couple games, get to the knockout stage? Like, what would Team USA walk away with this Olympic, tournament and say, you know what, that was pretty good. Let's get a head start on what we need to do next?
Until you see who you play in the knockout rounds, you can't say, well, they have to make a semi or they have to win a medal or whatever, because you don't really know. But they absolutely should win the next 2 games if they want to feel that this tournament was a success. And the other element, honestly, of it that's really important is finding players. That's what the Olympics is really all about. If you go back to 2008, they had a disappointing result. They had a great chance against the Netherlands in 2008 to get a result, and they let that get away in the final stages on a free kick. But they also got out of that tournament Stuart Holden, who went on to be a significant player for the U.S. before he was hurt, and Maurice Edu, who played very well in the 2010 World Cup. So there are players out there, perhaps, that can find themselves in this tournament and show that they're capable of being senior national team players. No one did that at all in the France game, but that's really an important component of what being at the Olympics is about.
You saw the odds there for the U.S. in terms of winning gold, tied for the 10th best price alongside Israel with a 42-1 number, 16-1 for the Americans in Group A that features France, their next match tomorrow morning against New Zealand, and Guinea as well. Outside of that, Mike, as opening ceremonies get started today in Paris, what other sports are you looking forward to at the Olympiad?
Well, I am a basketball person, so I'm very intrigued by what happens with the men's national team in France. They did not look great a lot of times in the 5 games that they played in advance of this tournament, but they did not have Kevin Durant yet. And I wasn't happy to see Tyrese Halliburton's role diminished. Halliburton is the one guy on this team that will pass first. Maybe LeBron beyond that. But there's not a lot of pass first guys. They need to be more connected than they were in those 5 exhibition games.
Certainly so. Tyrese Halliburton barely played in the final 2 exhibitions. Steve Kerr's decision, it would seem, at this moment. Mike DeCourcy from Sporting News. We appreciate the time. Enjoy the opening ceremonies on this Friday over in France. We'll talk soon. More on the early line comes your way up next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Media have already said that they are going to be horrible. The books have them, as we'll see in a moment, at a win total of 5.5. Sean Payton, though, Scotty, he does not listen to preseason prognosticators.
That's your future, and it's on you. Like, they selected him. They wanted him. That's what they got. And now he has to build that from scratch.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they showed they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round and it only takes is 1 game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
A Football Friday second hour live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. Quarterback questions around NFL training camp. One of our favorite narratives to follow all camp long if there are going to be QB competitions and how those races eventually end up. Who is named the Week 1 starter for various franchises around the NFL? The Raiders have a quarterback question to answer this offseason. Will it be the second-year pro that was thrust into the starting role to end out last year, Aiden O'Connell out of Purdue, or the new offseason acquisition, the veteran who has been around a time or two, that being Gardner Minshew? One of the great things, Donnie, is we started these debates a couple of days ago. I was asking you about rookie quarterbacks and how many would start by week number 1. I didn't even know that on the New Jersey site of the FanDuel Sportsbook, Joe Lisi was the one to tip me off to it. They had actual match bets for various NFL teams of who would be the Week 1 starter. We shared it for the Pittsburgh Steelers, now to Vegas. And surprisingly, at least to me, Aiden O'Connell's the front runner, minus 140 against Gardner Minshew.
I like to see that, to be honest, and I'm going to tell you why. Gardner Minshew, to me, just might be the best backup in the sport because, to be honest, if you have a decent football team and you need to have a quarterback or two for like a week or two scramble, he is fantastic. He'll come in and give you his best effort and, quite frankly, win those games as opposed to just keep you in those games. But if we are being honest about what the health of a franchise should be, and sometimes it's hard to sell a brand new head coach who knows he needs to win over the locker room, keep the locker room, and win football games to keep his job. Same thing with the general manager. How many times do you see general managers and coaches go into self-preservation modes? What's going to win me the most football games? It just might be going with Gardner Minshew. But I have to be honest. Like, I don't have big plans for the Raiders this year. The one thing you do have to find is who your quarterback of the future is going to be. Come on, it's not going to be Gardner Minshew. That's not the guy that's going to lead you to a Super Bowl. I love Gardner Minshew, and I just told you, he is so valuable as a backup quarterback, maybe the best backup quarterback in the NFL, but that's not the guy to get you to the next step. That's not the guy that's going to be your future quarterback. I'm not even saying O'Connell is even the right guy for the job, but I do think you owe it to the franchise to say, what happens if O'Connell can play? Hey, look, we might not have to go into the free agent market or back into the draft and get a quarterback. I trust this kid. Or if he can't play, then you have finality at the end of the season. Okay, Gardner Minshew's here. He's a solid quarterback, but we need our quarterback of the future. If we're just playing the Raiders out, which, again, I say this, you can't fault management and a coach for saying, my job is to win football games. Let me put the best player out on the field who I think is going to win an extra game or two. I don't have any issues with that. But the overall health of the franchise, I really think you have to let O'Connell play, to be honest, man.
Aiden O'Connell pretty much became the permanent starter under Antonio Pierce. From November on, he started the final 9 games for Las Vegas, all coached by then the interim head man, Antonio Pierce, now the permanent head coach. The numbers are not outstanding, but they're not porous for a 4th-round rookie quarterback in an interesting situation. That was not the expectation for O'Connell in his rookie year. Listen, I've been high on Aiden O'Connell for a long time out of Purdue. He's an older guy. He's already 25. He was a 24-year-old rookie in his first year. I think I even had a tweet ahead of the NFL draft that Aiden O'Connell will be a guy that will be a perennial backup in the National Football League. We'll have a couple of good starts. We'll get a couple of big contracts and be in the NFL for a decade. He is well on pace to do that. You would almost think, Donnie, because of what he did under Antonio Pierce in those final 9 games, that was full of positivity for Las Vegas that led to Antonio Pierce getting the permanent job. He does have that leg up. It's reflected in the odds at minus 140. But then again, you paid Gardner Minshew this offseason to bring him to Las Vegas. You paid Jimmy Garoppolo last offseason, 3-year deal worth $76 million. That did not really pan out. Garoppolo is now in Los Angeles. I'm not entirely sure who's going to win this battle when all is said and done. Frankly, I'm not sure it really matters if it affects my opinion on the Raiders this year, a team that's win total is 6.5 entering 2024. But to your point, Donnie, I think it's the most sound. Whether it's O'Connell or Minshew, it probably proves to you that Las Vegas will have an eye on the quarterback draft class of the 2025 NFL draft. If it's Minshew, they're already invested in the future. If it's O'Connell and it does not come with a ton of success, you can expect the Raiders based on win total, based on odds expectation, to be a team picking in the top 5, top 10, and probably hunting a quarterback in 2025.
Correct. And you don't win in the NFL without a legitimate quarterback. Now, Denver thinks they might have it in Bo Nix. We know the Chargers have it in Herbert. We know the Kansas City Chiefs absolutely have it in Patrick Mahomes. So you can't just be a franchise that's floundering around, just picking up random players at the end of the season just to see if they could be your quarterback and how they can work out. You have to solidify that position. And maybe you do that with O'Connell this season. And you're right. It doesn't change the outward focus. If you told me, hey, by the way, Gardner Minshew's going to start. So, okay, it might mean an extra win this year, but I don't think they make the playoffs at this point. But if you are a quarterback, when you want to measure talent and win a quarterback competition, they got some weapons. Like if Devontae Adams is my number one wide receiver, I know he's getting open, and I know I can throw him the football. You draft Brock Bowers, one of the more electric tight ends in college football over the past decade. There are weapons on this team. It's not as if you're saying, hey, go out and prove it with nothing out here. There's talent on this roster, but again, the thing that they're missing most is that future quarterback at this point. Maybe it's O'Connell, but I'm a betting man. I'm not betting it's going to be O'Connell that's going to be that long-term franchise guy that gets a big deal with the Raiders. Right. I just don't see it here. Hopefully it works out for him, though.
Again, there is optimism. There is hope in Las Vegas. In the 9 games under Antonio Pierce last year, they won 5, and they were 7-2 against the spread. They won 3 of their final 4. In those 3 wins down the stretch, Aiden O'Connell was darn good in those final 4 games, 8 touchdowns to 0 INTs, throwing for more than 240 yards in 3 of the 4. Maybe their best performance was Christmas Day in Arrowhead, upsetting the Chiefs as a 9.5-point dog against Kansas City. They won that game 20-14. And Donnie, I think Aiden O'Connell did not attempt to pass in the 3rd, but for sure the entirety of the 4th quarter. He knows the Big Ten West very well.
I mean, that's the challenge, right? We've seen that in the past, like when Mac Jones goes in, what a great win in Buffalo. Was it really? Because you said your quarterback is so bad, you can't trust him at all. Let's see what happens in the future for the Raiders. I don't think it's going to be great, but it'll be an interesting team to watch for sure, nonetheless.
And again, Mac Jones not in New England anymore. Is it Jacoby Brissett or Drake May? We'll tell you what the odds have to say next.
Anyone that's been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Media have already said that they are going to be horrible. The books have them, as we'll see in a moment, at a win total of 5.5. Sean Payton, though, Scotty, he does not listen to preseason prognosticators.
That's your future, and it's on you. Like, they selected him. They wanted him. That's what they got. And now he has to build that from scratch.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
They scored well. They defended like crap. Last game, they struggled to score. They defended great. We still have not seen the best out of USA basketball. So they've shown they've won different ways. They still should win absolutely the gold medal. But they're playing with fire a little bit with their play, especially when you get to the medal round, and it only takes is one game to lose.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
The quarterback competition, if there truly is one, in New England. Rookie head coach Gerard Mayo, in his first year as the head man in Foxborough, worked under Bill Belichick, played under Bill Belichick, understands you have to modernize the Patriot way there for New England. But after 24 years with Bill Belichick as the head coach, a ton of turnover this offseason for the Patriots, including their third overall pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, Drake May. But we heard from Mayo earlier this week and breaking down the quarterback race as of this moment that Jacoby is the most pro-ready guy they have. So when it comes to the quarterback competition by the odds in New England, Jacoby Brissett is the hefty favorite to be the Week 1 starter at minus 1,600.
And again, typically you say to yourself, how do you draft a guy in the top 3 and it's not your starting quarterback right away on a football team that's not expected to win many games? Just throw him out there. Let him get his reps. I hear you, and I understand that. But I think this is the perfect handoff scenario where I don't think this team is very talented from top to bottom. Jacoby Brissett is a professional. He's not going to embarrass your franchise. But more importantly, sometimes you can take young quarterbacks, Ben, right off the bat, and you can ruin them. Take a look at the opening schedule for the New England Patriots to start this season. At the Bengals, which you know is going to be a tough one. Seattle at home, that one's going to be one that could be a toss-up here, but I still think overall Seattle might be the better team. Then you go at the Jets, at the 49ers, Miami Dolphins, Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, New York Jets, at the Titans, at the Bears, Rams, Dolphins. You get the picture here. Do you want to send your young quarterback out to start his career like 1-6 and 1-7, getting his brain beat in every single time? I do think there's a perfect handing spot later on in the season to give it from Jacoby Brissett over to Drake May. But it's interesting for me, from my perspective, because I always believe now, if that quarterback's ready and you drafted him top 5, he should be able to take command of that huddle the minute he hits OTAs throughout the rest of the summer and start Week 1. I have a completely differentiating scenario for myself by saying, that's not the case here in New England. Don't ruin that kid because this is a bad football team. Don't let him get bad tendencies here. I agree. Let Jacoby Brissett go for the first month and a half, 2 months of the season.
Donnie, I'm not sure I have much more to add. I think that is the perfect summation of this all. In the modern era of the National Football League, drafting a quarterback in the first round and stowing them away to learn behind a veteran is not often the case. Really at all anymore, especially if you're a top 10 pick, a top 5 pick, the third overall draft selection. You are expected, because of the investment from your franchise, to come out right away and be the face of the franchise, to be that signal caller from week number 1. If it was any other team and any other organization and any other quarterback, I would probably say, have that guy that you drafted third overall be the starter. It is the reality. Not in New England. One of the things that doesn't get discussed enough, in my opinion, about Bill Belichick is not how they went 4-13 last year, the conversation of could he actually win anything of note or significance without Tom Brady starting in the 2020 season and beyond. It's that when Bill Belichick really took the reins of the front office in Foxborough, things went haywire. Terrible free agency decisions in terms of spending, awful draft decisions that has gutted this roster. That is Gerard Mayo's biggest task, not naming a starting quarterback, figuring out everything else around the QB spot. And a lot of times it's not when you were drafted, but where. Drake May would be thrust into an impossible situation. New England has the second hardest schedule in the National Football League, according to our guy Warren Sharp and his analytical team. New England's start, as Donnie laid out for you, is a gauntlet. Don't put your rookie QB in there to take all the blame and have all the fingers pointed at him for the sake of taking his lumps, rook, and earning experience. It would be a disaster from the start. It should be Jacoby Brissett, not just week 1, but probably through like week 6, week 7, before Drake May even consider starting a football game for the Patriots.
Yeah, and the fans are going to be screaming to see Drake May sooner than later. They probably would like to see him week 1 because it's fun. You want to see your rookie high draft pick play. But I don't know how long they're going to be able to hold on because, again, we're talking about New England here. 25, 30 years, it feels like, of absolutely dominant performance on a week-to-week basis. That fan base is used to a brand of football, which means we win every single time I show up to the stadium. I already have my season tickets here, and also I already have my playoff tickets bought because we expect to have a deep playoff run. Now you're taking a look at a franchise that after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1-3, 1-4, 1-5, they're technically not used to this year. They're going to be screaming for the young kid to put in there. Hold off those catcalls. Make the best decision because Gerard Mayo is going to be around for a couple years. It's not going to be like, oh, at the end of the year, we're going to fire him here. So he has a long rope to work with here. Don't ruin the young kid. Don't do it.
Hour number 3 and plenty of Olympic talk up next.